Hey guys, my name is RyanCentral and welcome to HitScan. In this video we're going to go over the patch notes for 2.06 and see a little bit of the gameplay for Viper and Yoru, as they both had pretty massive buffs and there's been some changes to the Bucky that gameplay would better explain some of the stuff happening here, so that's why we've done it now. And we're also going to look at the new skins as well, go over the variants of the new Magepunk set. Before we get on to the patch notes, a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, Opera GX. Opera GX is a browser built with gamers in mind. It's the browser that I've been using for the past 6 months, and I wanted to talk about why. Some other browsers are pretty well known when it comes to how many resources they can take up. With GX Control, however, you can control how much RAM and CPU that the Opera GX browser uses up, meaning that if you're playing any games, you won't have any lag, you won't have any dropped frame that's caused from the browser. With GX Player, you can log into Spotify, Apple Music or YouTube Music, stream whatever you're listening to, and anytime that you open up a video or audio in the browser, the stream will automatically stop whilst you watch and listen to that, and then when that's finished, it will resume playing. Other forms of integration include stuff like Twitch, where you can go to your favorite Twitch streamer's channel in about 2 clicks. You can connect your Discord, your WhatsApp, your Messenger, your Twitter, your Instagram, all could be connected into the sidebar of Opera GX. And of course, you can fully customize the browser, add different colored accents, special themes, certain backgrounds. Just make it look as good as mine if you can. In the last Opera GX video that we did, a lot of you came forward to say that you used the browser as well, which was super cool. But if you haven't tried it, it's 100% free and you can download it easily from the description and the top comment. Now let's talk about the new patch. The main changes, I think, come to Viper. Every bit of her kit pretty much has been buffed other than her ultimate, but I think the main one has to do with how toxins and her passive work altogether. Enemies that cross through a Poison Cloud, Toxic Screen or Viper's Pit are instantly now inflicted with at least 50 decay. The decay level increased the longer they remain in contact with a toxin, and there are a couple of changes to do with this too. For example, if you stand in a cloud, your decay over time is decreased because you are hit with that initial 50 regardless of how long you stand in there, but also when you step out of a cloud, it takes a little bit longer for your health to regen back to where it should be. This is huge for the impact of Viper going into the future, and we can touch on that in a second when we go over the dev comments. Looking over the Poison Cloud and Toxic Screen, for the Poison Cloud, you can immediately redeploy the smoke after picking it up. Beforehand, when you picked it up, you'd have to wait maybe 10 seconds before you could use it again. Now that's no longer the case, but it is a temporary charge when you do pick it up, similar to when a Cypher picks up his tripwires and replaces them again. You have a temporary cooldown and you'll have to buy a new one of those resources when you go into the next round. Just the typical stuff, I suppose, when it comes to what to expect. This is kind of an obvious thing, but it makes sense considering the positive she's had. And also, this is the same with the Toxic Screen, by the way. When a Viper dies, the Poison Cloud and Toxic Screen will remain up for an additional 2 seconds or until Viper runs out of fuel. Meaning that if Viper only has 7 fuel left and it rescinds in about a second, it's not going to stay up for 2, right? So that's generally how it works. But at most, you have 2 more seconds before Viper's utility drops, and you could also pick up the Poison Cloud from much further away. Again, really wanted to show some of the gameplay that the Korean channels put out on YouTube and stuff, because some of these changes look really good on paper, but when you actually see that gameplay happen, I think you then realize just how good some of these changes are when it comes to the impact of Viper. We went over the changes to Toxic Screen. The full blind distance from the wall increased to match the blind distance from the edge of the smoke, making it much more consistent. Most of these are quality of life, and the Snakebite equip timer, you can pull it out a lot faster. Instead of 1.1 seconds, it's 0.8. And again, you should be seeing a comparison on screen. Now to go over what the devs say, and sorry if I'm a bit short of breath and stuff, I've just had my vaccine, so that's currently kicking my ass. But in the Wake of Masters, we're introducing some bigger updates to our agents. Viper first, we've looked a lot at possible changes for her, but ultimately landed on changes that pushed what makes Viper's play pattern unique and still resonate with her theme. When compared to other controllers, we want Viper to make big, committed decisions that truly alter the map and how both sides play around her influence. She should claim ground with force and dare opponents to challenge her. The updates to Toxin should also project more threat on enemies who consider pushing her smokes, and will hopefully add a significant bite to her marquee Toxic Screen. Paired with a couple other buffs and some new tools for learning and practicing lineups, we're excited to see if Viper can deliver on the deadly impact she promises while solidifying her spot on our roster. She's become one of the best defensive agents now, almost like a sentinel but with smokes, with how good her utility is at just scaring people away from that position. Now, no matter how much time you spend in a Viper smoke, you lose your heavy shield, basically, for a certain period of time. So you need to be careful when pushing these areas, because there's a lot, certainly in this meta, of pushing out of the smoke. If you look at the pro scene, that happens a lot, just trying to trade into some of these fights, catch them off guard. Now against a Viper, that's so much more scary to do, and you are at a huge disadvantage. So I think if the game keeps going in the direction it's going, Viper's pick rate could go up a huge amount. The problem is, of course, you've got Astra coming into the game, and she's coming in with a huge amount of momentum, and I think this is mostly going to cut away at Omen's pick rate more than anything, but I think it is going to have negative impact on Viper. So it is a really strong chance that even though these buffs to Viper are insanely good, the best changes I think she's ever had, it still might pale in comparison to Astra coming into the game and taking a huge portion of that real estate that is currently needed, I suppose, in the controller category. I personally don't want to watch 100% Omen pick rate like we did in North America. Would nice to see some options, so, you know, Omen versus Astra for the main part and Viper coming in a little bit, I think is really good for the game. I think Viper is fine as a niche pick for maps like Icebox, but that still doesn't mean that she couldn't do with a bit of help. Yoru is similar, but I think in a much more worse position, to be honest. I think he's the worst agent in the game by far, and these buffs that he's got are also pretty impressive. The first one is okay, it's decent for obvious reasons, but the blind side, the flash, the activation time has decreased from 0.8 to 0.6, meaning that as it hits a wall, it now takes 0.6 seconds to deploy, so less time for enemies to react, and there was already not too much time to react to a flash that could come out of literally anywhere, so bear that in mind. And the flash duration has been increased from 1.1 to 1.5. That's a pretty big increase. But the main change that I think really makes Yoru now is Gate Crash. Gate Crash before was his main signature ability, and to use it more than once in a round, you need to get 2 kills to reset the cooldown. That's no longer the case. Gate Crash is no longer refreshed on kills, and instead replenishes every 35 seconds. The lifetime of the Gate Crash has been increased to 30 seconds from 20, meaning that you have more time to use it and to throw it out. And also, the range at which the Gate Crash can be seen by the enemy has been decreased from 7 meters to 4, meaning that the enemy needs to be closer to actually see it, which also means that Gate Crash can get to a lot more different places now without being spotted. And because that you can use it more frequently, and because of the longer time that you can use it for it being up, you effectively can get around the map a lot more frequently. And the visuals for visibility range added to the moving fragment. Bear in mind there were changes last time as well, a couple of patches ago, where you can also see how far an enemy needs to be away from the Gate Crash ability for them to hear it. Meaning that you should be able to sort of slip your way into the backline of the enemy, but in some cases it is going to be like threading the eye of a needle. Just bear that in mind. And then Dimensional Drift, its ult cost has been reduced from 7 ult orbs to 6, and Yoru can now reactivate Gate Crash whilst in Dimensional Drift. These are all massive, so let's look at what the devs say. Yoru carries a fantasy that you've been excited to see through, but we believe a few restrictions have made it harder to access. Although Yoru is a unique duelist on the roster, both in pace and in playstyle, we think he should be a strong contender for good compositions and want to ensure the value he offers to his team is more consistent throughout a match. These changes should push the needle, but we'll rapidly test some new changes to other parts of his kit, such as his fake out, his footsteps, to ensure Yoru players have the tools they need to succeed. Really like this stuff in regards to other agent changes. Killjoy can now pick up a Nano Swarm in the buy phase if she places it in a bad spot, which I don't know why this wasn't in the game earlier, but these are some really good balance changes. I was kind of expecting more, not with the stuff to Viper and Yoru, that's excessive in my opinion with how good these changes are, but more changes to other agents. But I don't really know, other than these two main agents of Yoru and Viper, that the devs are currently looking at. Maybe Jet's a bit too strong. I don't really know personally. I don't think there's any agent that's standing out at the moment as they are way too strong. Blizzard, please nerf, I was going to say, but yeah, Riot, please nerf. But the main weapon change that's come in is to the Bucky, and this is one of those ones where it's better to probably watch the changes as opposed to talk about them. Again, that's why I wanted to make this video today and not last night when the patch notes came out a little bit early. But whilst I'm showing the actual gameplay of the changes, let's read what the devs say. So the primary fire, the left click bullet spread has been decreased, meaning that it's not as bloomy. The decreased spread on alt fire has also been done. They've also decreased the spread on the alt fire from 3.4 to 2. Again, not really sure what these numbers mean, but it's a pretty big drawback if you're looking at the numbers alone. They've also had the damage curve on distance, so if you're 8 meters away or right in front of them, you do 20 damage per pellet. 8 meters to 12 is 12 damage per pellet. Beyond that is 9 damage per pellet. I don't know what the difference was beforehand, they haven't shown that, but they've reduced the amount of pellets in a right click from 15 to 5, which is actually pretty impressive. That's a big change, but the devs say we want to focus the Bucky more on its actual primary firing mode and not the right click, and make that the strength you try to optimize when choosing a Bucky. The right click should be more of a tool you can use when you can't get into that effective left click range, or you just need some reliable chip damage. The spreads are reduced on both to increase reliability and smooth the damage curve. The alt fire significance reduction in pellet count is a trade-off for being able to extend the range as much as it does for a shotgun. So yeah, this is like pretty good. It's going to be weird. It's hard to really gauge it until you get the Bucky in your hands, but it's nice to know that they've been focusing on this kind of stuff. It's one of those wait and see changes. Actually play with it in game before we get a good gauge on where it should be, but I think they've hit the right areas. I'm curious of what you guys think of not only the Bucky changes but the buffs to Yoru and Viper. Lastly, when it comes to stuff like escalation, they've taken a pass on a couple of abilities to add depth to their gameplay. Ray Showstopper now comes with 2 blast pack charges, which refill when you touch the ground. So yeah, flights, have fun. Snowball launcher now comes with skates. The big knife now comes with 1 tailwind jet charge, which refills on kills. The loadout variations will be a bit of a surprise. They shop rarely. Let us know which ones you like. Competitive update, you can now view a person's career from the in-game leaderboard. And of course, one of the main things is head-related transfer function. A lot of stuff to do with headset being able to sort of hear footsteps across the map in the various directions that they should be. This is something that people have been asking for quite some time, as the audio in Valorant has been, to quote, be muddy for a good portion of time. The devs say, what direction did those Ray's footsteps come from? Is she moving from and in front or behind you? With HRTF on and a pair of headphones, you'll be able to better pinpoint other players based on certain sounds. So yeah, this is generally stuff that I think there's a video as well, which I'll play in the background and link in the description below, so you can have a look yourself and see what this realistically means. But that's all I really want to focus on with the patch notes. I think this is pretty extensive with the changes in here. They've nailed a lot of common complaints, I suppose, with Viper not being too good enough. Yoru's not been good enough ever since he came out. The Bucky's been a little bit strong. It's nice to see them hit all of those various areas, I suppose, with these common complaints in the game. Now that we've gone over the patch notes, let's talk about that Magepunk set. We went over the majority of it yesterday, so thank you very much for watching that video, but the one thing we didn't get to touch on were the variants. That's because these were exclusively shown off to Hellion in an interview, much like we've had on the channel. I'll link the full video in the description if you want to check it out, but I did want to highlight the variants as I said that we would, and I'm actually quite surprised how good that they look. Like, I like the green, I like the orange the most, and it really gives you a new dimension of these skins. I think, judging from the comments, there were a lot of people that weren't necessarily too concerned about these skins at all, maybe because of the gun set that you have them for, which could be a thing, but certainly the melee. I really like the orange look on it. You have the electric effect as well, which matches the colors. I think this is kind of one of those things that might help you guys choose this skin, might push some of you over the line to pick it up, because I do generally think that really adds to the set. I think the variants are really nice. It's another sort of S tier thing for me. the main thing is going to be, do you use the Bucky on a regular basis? Maybe not so much now that it's being nerfed, right? But also, I guess, when you're looking at skins like the Marshall, if you use that on a regular basis, it might be worth picking up. So again, I'm curious on what you guys think. But that's going to be it for the end of this video. We had a look at the patch notes, all that cool stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Sorry we didn't put out a video last night on it. I wanted to do it today because we had the gameplay. And there's a lot of, oh, changes this number by 0.2%. You don't really know what that is until you see it. So I think adding the gameplay is super important. And also shout out to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Super appreciative of you guys being so supportive of the channel as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for this. And we'll be back over the next couple of days if there's any more news to cover. So thanks for watching. Enjoy the patch, and we'll see you next time. Take care.